lot of people think that Visio is just used for creating flowcharts, but you can do some other really cool things like creating floor plans. Let's take a look. One of the very first things that you need to think about and set up when you start creating a floor plan is your drawing skill. And it's not really intuitive where to find it. If I go up here at the top on my ribbon and I click on my design tab, over here on the left-hand side where I've got my page set up, I'm going to click on that little dialog box launcher to get to my advanced options. And the third tab at the top, this is where I can set up my drawing skill. So this lets you know what drawing skill you have. So in this example, it's set up to be architectural, where I've got my 1/4 inch would equal 1 inch. And I'm just going to leave it at 1/4 inch to 1 inch. And I'm going to click on OK. Now that we have our drawing skill set, I'm going to take this space and I'm going to move it over here into my drawing. And I'm going to zoom in on this to make it a little bit bigger so we can see it better. Now, if I'm looking at my drawing scale and I want to see how big my space is, sometimes it's handy to take my ruler and I'm going to set the top left-hand corner of this space to be at 0. It makes it easier for me to be able to measure it. Now, to do that, a quick and easy way, at the top left-hand corner of my ruler, if I move my mouse, I get that 4-headed arrow. If I hold my control button down on my keyboard and then click, hold, and drag it to where I want the 0 point to be, notice my ruler updated. So now I can see it set at 0. And as I resize it, I can use my ruler to help with those measurements. This is just a standard space. But if I'm going to get creative, I'm going to take this L shape and I'm going to drag him over here. And let's say maybe I want to create a foyer or something before I walk into the office. So now this is, let's say that I want to make sure this is turned into one space, but I've got 2 shapes. To join those, I'm going to make sure they're both highlighted. And then if I do a right click inside my shape, notice I have an option that says Union. I'm going to click on Union, and now I've joined those 2 spaces. Now I'm eventually going to take this space and I want to turn it into a room. I want to create just a basic layout. So if I right click on my space, notice I have another option here that says Convert to Walls. If I click on Convert to Walls, it opens up a little dialog box. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. It gives me the option to turn it to external walls or interior walls. I'm going to leave them as interior. Click on OK. Now it's taking my space and giving it walls. Now I can also add walls. I want to mention over here on the left-hand side, if you look at your different shapes inside your stencil, I have a wall stencil. I have a room stencil. So if I wanted to start with a room, I could certainly do that. In this case, it wasn't just a standard box room, so I had to use my space to be able to get creative and create those custom areas.
Okay.
So I've taken 2 spaces, combined those 2 spaces, and then I turned it into a custom room.
So what is the difference between spaces and rooms? I see both in my stencil.
It's a great question. A space can be anything. It can be a yard. So before I started with just space, and I took that space and converted it to a room, which gave it walls, I could just start with a room. So for example, I have this shape that says room. If I take this room and I come over here and bump it against this room, I've just added a room. I didn't have to start with space because it wasn't custom. Since I've added a room, it automatically has walls. Where before, I had to go the extra step to add the walls.
I see.
Now I can also add just walls. So for example, let me resize this room to make him a little bit bigger. So my room automatically has the walls, but I can also just add independent walls if I want to. I've got a wall shape over here. I can click, hold, and drag over into my floor plan. And I'm going to make him a little bit smaller so I have an open walkway between those 2 rooms. So these are really just the basics that you need to create that simple floor plan. You've got space, we've got walls, and we've got rooms.
Can I add doors and windows as well?
Of course you can. And we're going to do that in the next lesson.